Let's just dive right into this explainer because today we are unpacking one of humanity's most understated yet absolutely profound rituals. We're looking at the living practice of spilling tobacco. It's an act of sacred reciprocity, and honestly, it's kind of like a form of cosmic Wi-Fi. It's this incredibly ancient system that has connected humans to the divine for thousands of years. Picture this for a second. You're standing deep in an ancient forest, somewhere out by the Great Lakes. The air is incredibly crisp. There's this mist slowly rising right off the water. A hunter stops by Weathered Rock, a place just pulsing with this unseen power. But he doesn't bow, he doesn't chant loudly. Instead, he reaches into a worn pouch, pinches some dried tobacco between his fingers, and, very deliberately, just lets it spill. Notice that physical act. It's not some clumsy drop. It is incredibly intentional. So which brings us to a really profound question. How exactly do you talk to the spirits, or the divine, or your ancestors for that matter? Imagine a time when the world was brand new. Humans were super fragile, and the spirits felt incredibly powerful, but kinda distant. Well, that simple spill of tobacco we just visualized, that's the answer. It's a literal, ancient conversation with the unseen. Now, to truly wrap our heads around this, we need to clarify exactly what plant we're talking about here. We are looking at Nicotina rustica. This is the potent grandfather plant. In indigenous wisdom, this isn't just some crop you exploit. It's a living ritual. It was gifted by the creator specifically to act as a bridge, a mediator really, between the human world and the spirit world. Okay, let's dive into this crucial comparison because we really need to firmly contrast our modern, heavily conditioned biases against the actual indigenous reality of this plant. On one side, you've got commercial cigarettes, mass-produced, a colonial vice, essentially an addictive poison. But on the totally opposite side, you have Nicotiana rustica. This is sacred medicine. It's spiritual currency. It is quite literally cosmic Wi-Fi. We absolutely have to separate that modern commercial poison from this incredibly ancient sacred mediator.
Part 1. Myths of the Mediator.
These origin stories brilliantly illustrate tobacco as a divine currency and honestly, a product of ultimate sacrifice. Just look at the Hokonk or Winnebago tradition. Earthmaker hands humanity tobacco as the ultimate currency, literally something even the gods crave. You offer it and the unseen listens. Now, contrast that with the Iroquois or Haudenosaunee origin story. Here, tobacco bursts right from the head of Skywoman after her sacrificial death in childbirth. It's this vivid image of green life springing out of deep tragedy. It bridges humanity and the divine through an act of ultimate sacrifice. And if we expand our lens further south down into Mesoamerica, we see a massive variety in how this connection is made. We're talking Maya shamans blowing tobacco smoke directly into caves, treating them as literal portals to the underworld to feed hungry ancestor spirits. Or the Warao of Venezuela, who wielded these massive ritual cigars like actual wands of power. Aztec priests used tobacco's intoxicating breath to divine the future. Structurally, it's just fascinating. This plant is treated with the exact same reverence as famous plant teachers like ayahuasca in South America or soma in ancient Vedic traditions. It literally opens doors to the divine. Tobacco speaks when words fail. Its smoke carries our prayers upward. Its scattered body nourishes the ground below. Just let that emotional anchor land for a second. That right there is the poetic beauty of the practice. You are giving to the land to receive its blessings. It's basically the universal language of saying thank you to the cosmos.
Part 2. Connecting to cosmic Wi-Fi.
So how does this actually work in practice? Well, here is the understated, quiet power of the ritual itself. First, you always use your left hand, simply because it's the hand closest to the heart. Second, you spill the tobacco deliberately. There are absolutely no showy gestures here. And finally, you quietly project your intention. You really feel the weight of millennia in that tiny, tiny pinch.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is how this quiet ritual applies to everyday life. Among the Anishinaabe, or Ojibwe, tobacco, which is known as asima, is considered one of the 4 sacred medicines. Just consider these highly specific examples of sacred reciprocity in action. You might spill it at the base of a towering cedar tree to show gratitude for its shelter. Or maybe you pinch and spill it into a rushing river, to ask for safe passage before crossing. You might leave it on a grave or a storm-battered rock to show respect. Or you could place it in a small cloth bundle, a tobacco tie, as a formal invitation to an elder for their teachings. Every single spill basically says, I see you, I thank you, we are connected. The history of this practice spans a seriously incredible timeline. We're talking archaeologists finding pipe residues and evidence stretching back thousands of years. It predates entire empires. But then, during the colonial era, Europeans took this sacred plant and, well, they turned it into addictive gold. They fueled empires while simultaneously banning the very indigenous rituals that gave the plant its actual meaning. Yet, the practice demonstrated unbelievable resilience. In the diaspora, enslaved Africans brought to tobacco plantations adapted the plant as a tool of survival. They used cigar smoke to feed the loa in Vodou and Hoodoo, honoring ancestors forged in fire. And today, the practice survives as a quiet rebellion. It's reciprocity in action. We take from you, so we give back.
Part 3. Lessons in Reciprocity.
It really comes down to this one simple fact. The Earth isn't a vending machine. It's family. In our modern, noisy, kind of completely disconnected world of climate chaos and spiritual hunger, the act of spilling tobacco whispers this exact wisdom. It's a hugely powerful metaphor that forces us to step back and completely reevaluate how we extract from the planet. And this builds into real-world actions happening right now. These are the modern-day ripples. I mean, this isn't some dusty history we're talking about. Today, Indigenous youth are carrying pouches to actively reclaim their heritage. Archaeologists and scientists are literally making offerings of tobacco before digging into sacred sites. Hikers are pausing by rivers just letting a pinch fall in silent awe. These intentional acts prove that this is a modern masterclass in environmental connection. It shows that small, deliberate actions absolutely still create ripples across realms.
I want to leave you with this final, provocative question. Next time you receive a gift from the land, how will you close the circle? Because spilling tobacco isn't about superstition. It is fundamentally about a relationship. It's humanity at its absolute most poetic, reaching across the veil with open hands and humble hearts. So think about your own daily life. How can you adopt that mindset of humble reciprocity? The smoke rises, the earth receives, and the world feels just a little more alive. Thank you for joining me for this explainer, and I'll see you next time.